Okay, let's get real for a second. We've all been there, right? You've got this amazing project, a fantastic team, even a decent budget, and somehow it just fizzles out. It fails to deliver. So why? Why do so many well-intentioned, important projects completely fall flat? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of that today. So, what do you think it is? What's the #1 killer of big projects? Is it the technology? The budget getting cut? Maybe a wonky timeline? Sure, all those things can cause problems. But the real reason, the one that truly sinks the ship? It's probably not what you think.
And that leads us to what I like to call the project killer. It's this silent, invisible force that can doom your most important work before it even gets off the ground.
Look, it's not the usual suspects that we all love to blame. The real culprit, the thing that makes all the difference, is the complete absence of one single, absolutely critical role.
So what is this all-important role? Well, let's pull back the curtain and talk about what an executive sponsor really is and why they are such a game changer.
So here it is, the official definition. A sponsor is the executive who gives the green light, who owns the results, but here's the part that everyone misses. They're the one who lends their authority, their resources, and their protection to the team to actually make it happen. They are, at the end of the day, on the hook for the project's success.
But what does that really look like? Day to day. It's not just about signing a check and walking away. According to the Project Management Institute, a great sponsor is in the thick of it. They're the ones removing political roadblocks, they're making the tough calls on what's most important, they fight for the budget and the right people, and, maybe most importantly, they walk the talk and hold their fellow leaders accountable for actually adopting the change. They're the project's champion for sure.
Okay, so to make this super simple and easy to remember, the research firm ProSci came up with this brilliant little framework. Let's dive into the sponsor's ABCs. First up, A is for active and visible. This is so important. We're not talking about an email signature. A sponsor can't just kick off the project and then vanish. No way. They have to be seen. They need to show up, talk about the project in town halls, and physically be present with the team. That visibility sends a powerful message to the whole company. Hey, this matters. Next, B is for build a coalition. Because let's be honest, no big change happens because of just one person. A huge part of the sponsor's job is to get their executive peers on board. They need to create a united front of leadership, using their influence to build support and squash resistance before it can grow. And finally, C is for communicate directly. Think about it for a second. When you hear about a massive company-wide change, who do you want to hear the why from? The project manager or the senior leader whose neck is on the line? Exactly. People need to hear why this change is happening and why it's so important straight from the top. It gives the whole thing legitimacy. Okay, so we know what a great sponsor looks like. We've got the ABCs down. But how do you actually make sure you have one? Or how do you help the sponsor you've got become more effective? Let's get practical.
Picking the right person is half the battle. So you've got to ask yourself a few questions. Do they actually have the authority to make things happen? Are they close enough to the work to really understand its value? Do they have the political capital and respect to get others on board? And this is a big one. Do they actually have the time and the energy for this? Seriously, don't just pick the person with the biggest title, pick the right person for the job.
But what if your sponsor is willing, but maybe just doesn't know how to be great? Well, you can coach them. Start with a simple one-page sponsor contract. This isn't about being bureaucratic. It's about getting on the same page. Then, help them out by building a coalition map to figure out who their key allies are. Give them a message kit with talking points and FAQs so they're always ready to go. And this is crucial. Ritualize their visibility. Don't hope they show up, schedule them into the most important events. And finally, do regular health checks to see how things are going. You have to be their partner in this. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, this all sounds nice, but does it really make that big of a difference? The answer is a resounding yes, and I've got the data to prove it. The numbers here are, frankly, staggering. Across years and years of research, combing through data from thousands of companies, ProSci found that the single biggest contributor to successful change is active and visible executive sponsorship. It's not just a nice to have. It is, without a doubt, the #1 predictor of whether you will succeed or fail. And just how big of a difference does it make? Huge. Projects with strong, effective sponsorship are up to 7 times more likely to hit their goals. Let me say that again, 7 times. That's the difference between a sponsor who's just a name on a chart and one who is truly actively engaged. And one last stat to really drive this home.
Remember that sponsor contract we talked about making roles clear? Well, initiatives where everyone's roles, especially the sponsors, are clearly defined are about 6 times more likely to succeed. Clarity creates power. It's that simple. So if you take away just one single thing from our time together today, please let it be this. If they're invisible, the change will be too. A sponsor's visibility isn't just for show. It's a direct signal of how important a project is, and a pretty good predictor of its chances of survival.
And that leaves me with one final question for you. A question I want you to take back to your desk and really think about. Look at your most important project right now, the one that keeps you up at night, and ask yourself, is your sponsor visible or are they invisible? The answer could tell you everything you need to know.